Okay, good morning all. So I hope you are able to view the desktop and hear me as well as see me. Can anyone give me a quick confirmation? All the three are visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the confirmation. So let us get started. So in the last class, we were discussing about the Government of India Act in 1935 and how the freedom struggle was going on in different strands. So before we start with today's topic, so just wanted to know if you have any questions. So any questions in general or anything particular to your preparation or anything related to history in general, you can please feel free to let me know. So before we actually proceed, we can have a quick discussion on that. Okay, I hope everyone is safe and everyone is able to follow and your preparation is going on well. Okay, please do let me know if you have any other concerns. So, in the last class, we were discussing about how the freedom struggle was going on till 1935. Now, if you could recollect, we are here. So, we were discussing about in the last week, we were discussing about the Communal Award and Pune Pact, as well as we had a discussion on Government of India Act 1935. Can anyone quickly recall what is one unique feature of 1935 Government of India Act? Very unique feature. If you have to name one feature, yeah.
It forms the basis of Independence Act.
Yeah, right. Partly yes, but that is not a unique feature. So yeah, you are true that this would
It,
become the guideline for the
it
constitution.
established
Mm,
one thing is it
The
established federal setup in India.
Federal
yes.
setup in India. Very good. So it is about the federation. Okay, so the most important thing or the most basic thing the 1935 Government of India Act has provided is a federal setup in a country. Okay, till that point of time, we have seen that the British rule was very much centralized in its approach. Now, from 1935, we can see the concept of decentralization. Now, again, this decentralization has, or the federal setup has been continued in India, and we can see that India is a union of states. If you see Article 1 of the Constitution, which says that India is a union of states, that means India is a federation. The type of federal setup what we have is from 1935 Government of India Act. Now, if you if you study the Constitution in detail, what you'll observe that 60% of the Indian Constitution is borrowed from Government of India Act 1935. Almost 60% of Indian Constitution. Now, this is what the question was asked, like I guess in the previous year, like 2019 or 2018, which was asked how far the Government of India Act 1935 paved way for the formulation of the Constitution. So, as I told, 60% was borrowed from 1935 Government of India Act, and the remaining 40% has been borrowed from different countries. Now we know that Indian Constitution has been we have the elements of different countries' constitution. For example, can you tell me from which country we have borrowed the concept of preamble? Anyone?
America.
America?
United States.
Yeah, very good. America. So the preamble was borrowed from USA. The federal setup from which country did we borrow? The type of federation what we have?
Canada,
Canada.
sir.
Canada. Very good. So and the parliamentary form of government?
Britain.
Yeah, from Britain. Very good. So, as you know that majority of the provisions like the seventh schedule, the concurrent list, the process of election of president and the office of vice president, now various elements like the office of speaker in Lok Sabha. So, the way they are modeled, we have borrowed from different countries. Now, this is where we will understand that the constitution almost 60% has been derived from Government of India. That is why this becomes very important to understand the evolution of constitution. Okay, the way, again, can we call Indian constitution as a borrowed constitution? It is a borrowed constitution, no doubt, but at the same time we cannot give all the credit to Government of India Act or to the British government. The reason is, for getting this Government of India Act 1935, there were so many sacrifices, lives were sacrificed in reaching to this stage. It has been almost, we can see that from Battle of Plassey 1757 and 1857 until 1947, there almost 200 years of battles and wars with the British, and only after that we could be able to reach to this particular stage, that is Government of India Act 1935. Okay, now this is the context in which we will set our agenda. Now from 1935, as I told, that the British had made up its mind that we will be ruling the country or the colonies for at least 100 years. So in fact, later when the documents, the internal documents of the British government were declassified, so this is called declassification. Declassification means, so the important government data is not allowed in the public domain. So it would be kept for almost 30 years or 40 years, okay, within the government circles itself, and only after that it would be allowed for the common public to view. Am I audible? There was a power cut. Hello. Okay. Am I audible? Hello. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're
Yeah.
audible.
Yeah.
Kindly
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So sorry, there was a power cut from my side. Okay. So let us resume. So we were discussing about how the Government of India Act 1935 paved way for the Constitution of India. Now, in addition to that, like after the 1935 Government of India Act, as I told, that the British had already made the roadmap to rule the country for about 100 years. So what they felt is, now that we are started giving some kind of freedoms here and there, now our rule would be robust. Now, in 1937, for the first time, the elections were conducted. As I told, that this was the elections where the maximum amount of people were given the eligibility to vote. So about 10% of the population were allowed to vote at that point of time. And again, then at that point of time, there was no universal adult franchise. So only few sections of people who were paying a taxes or who had a certain levels of education levels, only they were given the right to vote. Now, the 10% of people participated in the elections, and in 1937, there was a massive victory for the Indian National Congress. So, Muslim League, which claimed to be the sole representatives of Muslim, was nowhere. Now, this is what we also discussed in the previous class. So, even in the Muslim majority area, Muslim League could not be able to form the government. So there were Muslim majority provinces. We were discussing that Bengal, Assam, Punjab, Sindh, as well as NWFP. Now, even in these five Muslim majority provinces, Muslim League could not be able to form the government. In fact, it is either the Congress with local support or the regional political parties were dominant in these Muslim majority areas. And in the Hindu majority areas, the six Hindu majority areas in the provinces, it was only the Congress and Congress which was able to form the government. Now, this was the background till 1937. So, any questions till now? Please do let me know. Okay, I'll take it as a no that you are able to follow. Now, when 1937, the government was taken over, the provincial government was taken over by the Indian National Congress. Now, what they have introduced, what the British have introduced in 1935 Government of India Act is diarchy at the center. That means in 1935 Government of India Act, the diarchy at provincial level has been ended, but the same diarchy was established in the union level. That means though the elections were taking place, though the Indians were getting into the Central Legislative Assembly, what they noticed is all the powers are still with the British nominated officials or the British nominated the ministers. And those who were elected through the general electorate were always in minority. Now, however, for the first time, this was the elections happened and they were able to form the government. So the Congress, for time being, was happy. Now, 1937 is also a important year in the history of partition of India because this is where a controversial event has happened. The controversial event is the Congress was not able to honor did not, make any attempt to honor the pre-poll treaty it had made with Muslim League. Uh, am I audible now? Like there was some again a network disruption.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So, 1937, what happened was the Congress did not again honor the pre-poll agreement it made with Muslim League because it felt that Muslim League is no longer important for us politically. So that is why when historians write about the history, the historians are generally neutral in their approach. They criticize Congress and Nehru for the events which happened in 1937. Now, the similar way, the historians criticize Congress for the events which happened in 1928. So, could you recollect what happened in 1928? Why the Muslim League is not happy with Indian National Congress? What is that event which triggered the Muslim League and Jinnah to form the 14-point program? Yeah, good. Nehru report. So, in Nehru report, what is the controversial feature?
Opposed communal reward.
Yeah, not communal reward. It is a separate electorates for the Muslims. Okay, communal award
Exactly,
was
yeah.
something. Yeah, communal award was something related to the Dalit community, which was given by Ramsay MacDonald. Now that happened in 1932. Yeah, for which Ambedkar and Gandhi, Pune Pact, that is something different. That is between the Dalit community and the upper caste Hindu community.
The
Okay.
wrong.
Yeah,
I
please.
used the wrong words. I meant to say that electorate for Muslims was opposed by Nehru report. That's the major objection.
Right. Perfect. So in 1928, there was one attempt which was very decisive, which is going to play an important role in partition of India. One is 1928. Why historians blame Congress 1928? One in 1928 because Congress has taken a U-turn. Because 1916 Lucknow Pact, it said that we are going to agree with separate electorate system. But 1928, it completely has taken a U-turn and said that we are not going to support separate electorates. This is why the Muslim League started projecting Congress as a Hindu-Wadi party or a like upper caste Hindu party. Now, this is where Congress has made no attempt to clear its image as well, because Congress felt Muslim League is nowhere and nowhere it is politically important. And in 1937, again the Congress would make a pre-poll agreement, and after the election results, Congress notices that there is no point in making a treaty with Muslim League, which is nowhere in our agenda. So again, the historians would blame Congress and Nehru for the partition of the country. Now, this is one side of the story. Now, when the same historians are writing about 1946, the new events unfold, then historians would make Jinnah and Muslim League for the partition. Okay. Now, when neutral historians, as I told, when they write, they equally blame Muslim League as well as Congress, in addition to the British. So, all the three parties are equally important. Now, the debate is which is more important and which is less important. It depends on the school of history thought. As I told, when Indian historians are writing, they only project Muslim League as a sole reason for the partition. But when Pakistani historians write, they project Indian National Congress as the sole reason. They project Gandhi, Nehru as a and Congress, and they only highlight 1928, 1937 incidents for everything going wrong and the partition. But when Marxist historians write, when Marxist historians, that is the left-wing historians, they blame only the British. They blame only the British for the policy of divide and rule. Now, as a student of history with a neutral perspective, you should be having all the three in your mind. Like how far the Congress is responsible, how far the Muslim League is responsible, and how far the British is responsible. Now, in my notes, if you see, I have given a separate topic here, Indian Independence Act, and how the partition has been done. Here I made a table like which party is responsible to how much. Now, what I suggest is strongly recommend is go through this and try to fill the table of partition. Let me show that. Yeah. Now, if you see it here, partition, I gave a separate table in which I wrote why Congress is responsible for partition, why Muslim League is responsible for partition, and why British is responsible for partition. Again, I made a table template. I suggest you to fill this with more and more factual information so that your answers would be more logical. Now, why you can blame British, why you cannot blame British. Again, I gave two opinions. Okay, why you have to blame Muslim League, why you cannot blame Muslim League. In the same way, why you have to blame Congress, why you should not blame. So at least 4 or 5 points under this. Once you fill this table, you'll be very clear on what are the events which unfolded towards partition. Okay, now this is something which we were discussing about partition. As I told, 3 years are very important: 1928, 1937, and 1946. I hope this discussion is clear, or any questions till now? Okay, I'll take it as a no. Now, during this time, something important would happen in the world history. That is what we called as World War II. Now, the World War II is extremely critical event in the freedom movement of India. Now, what happened in World War II? I hope you all know that it happened between 1939 to 1945. There was the World War II, which triggered from 1939 to 1945. Can anyone tell me who are on the Allied forces and who are on the Axis powers? Allied powers and Axis powers. Anyone? Okay, between whom the World War II has triggered and which parties has joined? Okay, see, when I say Allied powers, it is UK, France, and further later UK, France, and further later USA, and even later the Soviet Union has joined on the Allied side. The Soviet Union has joined on the Allied side. And on the Axis powers, it was Germany, it was Italy, and it was Japan. Germany, Italy, and Japan. Now, the Allied powers, which are, you can say, uh, which are worried about the rise of Germany, rise of Italy, and rise of Japan. Now, if you see, UK and France are the superpowers in the 17th and 18th century. Now, over time, what happened was there was in 1870s there was formation of Germany. Maybe in your world history you'll read that in 1870 is a very important year when Italy and Germany were unified, and they also started demanding their share in the world politics. Now, in 1890s, what happens was there was rapid industrialization which happens in Japan. Now, Japan says that I want the whole of Asia for myself. It will start with a slogan that is what we call it as Japan Asia for Asians. Okay, Asia for Asians. That means the whole of Asia, like including from China to Southeast Asia to South Asia, that is Indian subcontinent, to Central Asia to West Asia, almost till Saudi Arabia and Iran, Iraq, all these countries should be coming under the rule of Japan. That is what the Japanese imperialism. Now, UK and France are already the superpowers. Now, they do not want any new players to come into picture. Now, this was one of the reasons why the World War I was triggered. If you see the 1914 to 1918, one major reason for triggering of the World War I was because of the imperial rivalries. That is, UK and France were already having a large share in the world politics, and they are not willing to share their power with Germany and Italy or Japan. Now, this is one of the major reasons for World War I. Now, though World War I was won by UK, France, and USA, this has come to them with a huge cost. As I told, UK is on the winning side. When UK is there, then UK and its colonies were always be there. That is, India was fighting the war on the behalf of the Allied powers. Okay, I hope this is clear. So, the Allied powers called this one as the evil of Axis. The Axis powers are evil, like Rome, Rome, Berlin, and Tokyo Axis. Rome, capital of Italy, Berlin, capital of Germany, and Tokyo, capital of Japan. I hope this side is clear. Which country is which side? So you should not get confused when we are actually further reading about the Indian National Army, the role played by Subhash Chandra Bose and his uh, uh, supporters. Okay, why Germany supported the INA? You should be very clear on this side. So which country, you cannot put this country on this side, this country on this side. I hope this distinction is very much clear about the World War II. Okay.
Yes, it's very clear.
Yeah. Now, when 1939, so this was a time when Germany and Italy were rising. So Germany was under the control of Hitler, and Italy was under the control of Mussolini. There was, yeah, please. There was Nazism, which is rising in Germany. Nazism is hyper-nationalism, the hyper-nationalism, and there was fascism, which was rising in Italy, as well as there was militarism, which was rising in Japan. That means, as I told that nationalism and patriotism, there is a thin line. Patriotism is love for your country, whereas nationalism or hyper-nationalism is hatred against other countries. Okay, that means the way Germany and Italy, the major enemy for Germany was France. Now, Germany and the Hitler at any cost wanted to take their revenge on France. In fact, during this time, when Germany was rising, when Italy was rising, UK made no attempt to suppress them. In fact, UK supported Germany and Italy. Now, this is the irony here. What we have to understand is UK and France are traditional rivals. Now, why UK supported Germany and Italy is something different as a appeasement policy which the UK adopted while for the rise of Germany and Italy, and why US also turned a blind eye towards the rise of Germany and Italy. Again, it is a another debate because Soviet Union would not be on this side initially. In fact, Soviet Union, which was led by Stalin, would be on this grouping. Later, from here, it would shift to here when Hitler attacks Soviet Union. Okay. Now, because of the rivalries which were there between US and USSR and the rivalries which were there between UK and France, these were exploited by Germany, Italy, and Japan to rise to the political sphere. And in fact, there was an organization which was set up that is called League of Nations. Now, League of Nations is something like today United Nations. So, just like after World War II, United Nations was set up, after World War I, League of Nations was set up. Now, again, the League of Nations played no role, okay, in containment of rising military power in Germany, Italy, and Japan. Now, this was the events which were unfolding across the world. Now, what happened is, as we remember, in 1937 there were elections, and Congress was the very important political party now during this time. And when Congress was running the government in 1939, suddenly the World War II has broken out. Now, once the World War II started, UK unilaterally, without even consulting the Congress, declared that India would be the party of UK. That is, India, because India is its colony, India would be on the side of UK. Now, this disappointed the Congress because Indian National Congress said that nowhere we are connected to the war. Now, if you see the war, it is way back. Why there is a rivalry between France and Germany? Because of 1870s issue. Why there is a rivalry between Italy and France? Because of after 1914, France did not honor the Italy's commitment in World War One. And why Japan is against? Because Japan also wanted its share in China and Southeast Asia, for which it is having conflicts with UK as well as US. Okay, now because of all these rivalries where India is nowhere connected, India has its own share of problems. Now, why you have dragged India without even consulting a political party which is there? Now, this has angered the Indian National Congress leaders, and what they have done in response is, if you are dragging the country into the war where nowhere it is connected, and that too without the consultation of Indian National Congress, then what is the point in having the elections? What is the point in having the government? Now, because of this reason, Indian National Congress in 1939 will resign from all the ministries. It will say that we are going to launch a massive freedom struggle. Now, without this, that means without India's support, it becomes very difficult for UK to win the war. The reason why it is like that is because, as I told, that UK is a very small island, and UK had to depend for the, you can say, the resources, either it is economic resources or military resources or maybe the political power, the political clout the India had at that point of time. And because of all these reasons, UK had to heavily depend on India and Indians. And when Congress has resigned and Congress said we are not going to cooperate in any way, but Congress did not launch any struggle because this was the war time. Because during the war time, the laws or the implementation would be very strict. Now Congress has said that we are resisting your authority, but at the same time we are not going to launch any mass movement because this was the time of World War One. World War II, which was going on, and during wartime, we do not want to create new problems for UK. That is why we are keeping silent, but silently we are going to start our resistance. Now, this is the agreement which was made by Indian National Congress. I hope this is clear. The discussion is clear. Why? Maybe the questions can be like, why Indian National Congress resigned from the ministries? Why it was resigned from the ministries? The reason is, the UK dragged India into the war even without the consultation of Indian National Congress. That is why it has resigned from the ministries. Now, why Indian National Congress did not launch any mass movement in 1939? Because if you see all previous movements, either the Swadeshi movement, all important previous movements, either the Swadeshi movement or 1905, or non-cooperation of 1920s, or civil disobedience of 1930s. All these movements happened in the peacetime. No movement has taken place during the wartime. If you see again during the World War I also, there is no major movement except for the Home Rule League movement launched by, and that too not launched by Congress but by the Congress leaders. Because during wartime, the response of the government would be very swift, and there would be a lot of, you can say, democratic rights which would be suspended. That is the reason during this wartime, the Congress did not launch any mass movement, but Congress said that we are going to start the resistance, and this resistance would be there until we get the independence. Now, this is also the time when the Indian National Congress had multiple opinions in here. So, yeah, please, someone wants to speak. Okay. Now, in Indian National Congress, there was two groups which started emerging. As I told, Indian National Congress had different political shades within Congress itself. Now, within Congress itself, there were different shades which were emerging, just like the moderates and extremists, which emerged in 1905, just like the Swarajists, which emerged in 1920s, and Congress Socialist Party, which emerged in 1930s. In the same way, by the end of 1930s, there emerged two views within Congress. Now, one view led by Gandhi, one view or one section of group, which was led by Gandhi. Okay, now I hope this is clear. I'm going to clean this slide. Okay, now in Indian National Congress, there emerged two groups. On one side, it was led by the section called Gandhi and its followers, and one side there emerged a more radical and reactionary elements, which was led by Subhash Chandra Bose. On one side, there was Gandhi and his faction. Now, Gandhi and his followers, which included a huge section of people, including Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Nehru. Now, all this section of people, they wanted to adopt the wait and watch approach. That is, the World War I, is between UK and Germany, Italy, and Japan. Now, this they called it as democratic, and this they called it as fascist forces. It is a war between the democratic and fascist forces. Now, this is what the Gandhian group opined. That is, this is a war between democracy and fascism. Now, if you support Germany, it means you are supporting fascism. Now, this would be a major threat for India. Now, what Gandhi and his followers, they adopted that Indian National Congress would not do anything. That is, we will just wait and watch. Now, there is one more section in Congress which emerged, that is led by Bose. Now, what Subhash Chandra Bose decided is we will take the help of the Axis powers in in defeating the UK, and this is a time which we should agree. Now, what Bose is of the opinion that in World War I we supported UK. So, but what we have got in return, we got Rowlatt Act, we got 1919 Government of India Act. Uh, Sir, could you please enable the screen share? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I hope everyone is back again. And a quick confirmation, you are able to hear, see, and view the desktop.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Everything is
Thank you.
good.
Thanks. So now we were discussing that there are two groups, two viewpoints which emerged in Congress because of the response to World War II. One led by Gandhi, who wanted to adopt, that is, they do not want to do anything. That means they just wanted the war to be completed, then let us decide. But what Subhash Chandra Bose, the team led by the reactionary elements led by Subhash Chandra Bose, what they decided is, let us take this as an opportune moment. Let us defeat UK by taking the help of Japan or Italy and Germany. Now, who is correct and who is not? There are different viewpoints. Okay, but what we have to understand is there is the way the Gandhi and Bose have adopted. Now, in fact, Subhash Chandra Bose became the president of Congress during this turbulent time. In fact, during this time, there was some kind of Cold War which was going on between Gandhi and Bose, and Gandhi proposes his own candidate, that is Pattabi Sitaramaiah, and Bose himself would be standing on the other side. In fact, in 1939 Tripuri session of Congress, the Bose would defeat the Gandhian candidate Pattabi Sitaramaiah, and he will become the president of Congress again. Now, this is another important, you can say, development which is going to happen in Congress. That is, Congress is going to adopt a more reactionary approach under Bose. Now, from 1939, when Bose would take over the reins, he will say that now Congress would not just wait and watch. We will make a much more impact on the British rule. Now, we are going to take the help of Japan or Germany or Italy, whoever it might be. Then we are going to take, or we are going to defeat the UK. Now, this is what the adoption made by Congress till that point of time. I hope the discussion is clear. From 1937 to 1939, what are the events which happened outside India and within Congress?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Clear.
Thank you. So now, when the reactionary elements have taken over in the Congress, now what Subhash Chandra Bose decided is, this was not the time we will make the pacts with British. Now, British again, they will always adopt the policy of divide and rule. Now, the British government would come up with a particular offer in 1940 August, that is called August offer. A particular offer called as August offer. Now, maybe you can write, this is our next topic of our discussion, that is August offer. Now, you can write down few points about August offer. Few points about August offer. Okay, so all this I'm going to put it in maybe 1 or 2 lines. You can write down. Due to the outbreak of World War II, due to the outbreak of World War II, due to the outbreak of World War II, the Indian National Congress leaders, due to the outbreak of World War II, the Indian National Congress leaders were upset with the British government, for dragging India into a war, without the consent of Indians. Now, see, when you are writing your exam, like you'll be having very limited time and very limited amount of words. Now, if this story is clear, you need not write each and everything which happened. Now the examiner would understand. Now this, within 1 line, you are able to sum up all the events which happened in 1937 to 1939. Now this is the way when you are writing the answers, you have to adopt this kind of approach. That means you are not writing, one example, you are writing in modern Indian history, you should focus more on the Congress, what are the events, but the background story should be on your fingertips. Okay, so I'm giving you these words because these sentences, because maybe in exam the way you have to write, because the students have that habit of writing whatever they know, but they should be very cautious. You have very limited amount of time and limited amount of space constraints when you are writing the actual exam. So within 1 line you are summing up all the events which happened between 1937 to 1939. Okay. Now, next point you can write. Now, next point you can write. British government, comma, under the pressure of British government, under the pressure of Allied powers, under the pressure of Allied powers. Now, as I told that World War II is between the Allied powers and Axis powers. The Allied powers are UK, France, US, and Soviet Union, and the Axis powers are Germany, Japan, and Italy. Now, why the Allied powers will pressurize UK to ask India for its support? Because when the World War II broke out, now during this particular time, some events would happen, like the Germany's forces would advance in almost all directions in Europe. Now Germany, which is at the center of Europe, now it would expand in all the directions. Like on one side, it will annex Czechoslovakia. On one side, it will annex Denmark, and further, it is now planning to attack Soviet Union. In fact, the France is already fallen to the Germany. Look, the German soldiers march into the France and they will capture the Paris. Now, the next threat would be on UK. Okay, now the Allied powers are almost failing in the war against Germany and Italy. Now, this was the time the other members in the Allied powers, like France, then US, and finally Soviet Union. All these would put pressure on UK to take support of India, to ask for Indian support, because without India, because as I told that British has many colonies across the world. Now, of all the colonies, India was called as a crown jewel. Okay, why it is called as crown jewel? Because it is the largest and the richest of the colonies, with huge amounts of the people. Okay, with huge amounts of population. Now, when with huge army, huge resources, a country like India, if it is not supporting UK in its war efforts, then the war efforts would be futile. That is why France would put diplomatic pressure on UK. US and USSR both support Indian independence movement. Okay, for their idealist and realist reasons. See, US and USSR played a very important role in the freedom struggle of various colonies, including India. Now, why do you think US wanted to support India's freedom? What is there in USA for supporting? Again, it is not for love for India. There should be something else.
One thing, they get support for war. Second thing is they will get markets for their products.
Yeah, very good. See, for their idealist as well as realist reasons, US and USSR both support the freedom struggle of India. Now, what is the idealist reason for USA? Because US itself was a colony of British Empire. If you know that there was an American Revolution in 1776, there was war, and 1783 US would become independent from Britain. Now, US itself was a victim of colonial exploitation. That is why US would completely oppose any colonialism or imperialism. Now, what is the realist reasons? As you told that it is because India is a huge market, and not only India, the remaining countries, remaining colonies are underdeveloped and they are huge markets for US goods. So, because of ideal reason as well as realist reason, US is going to support India's independence. Why Soviet Union would support India's independence for idealist reason? Because it is a socialist country. Okay, and Lenin has said that imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism. That means if USSR wanted to defeat UK, okay, and if USSR wanted to defeat UK, now UK is a very small country, but why it became so powerful is because of its colonies. Now, once colonies become independent, then the power of UK would always be lost. Okay, now this is something which the Soviet Union wanted to oppose, because ideological way, the communism is completely against capitalism. Okay, the communism or socialism is completely against capitalism. That is why they will oppose UK and oppose capitalism, and they will launch for freedom struggles of different countries. In fact, Soviet Union after 1945 played a very important role in the freedom of India. Okay, and why it is for realist reasons? Why it would oppose? Because USSR wanted to expand its influence. If you see the map of the erstwhile USSR, the China has already fallen into the communist fold, and in Southeast Asia there are communist countries like Vietnam or Cambodia. They have already fallen to the Soviet ideology. Now, if India comes into this picture of Soviet Union, then the socialism can be expanded across the world, because they know that if India comes in this group or this group, US group or Soviet group, it is not only India which is going to join. With along with India, at least 100 countries would join this grouping, because a lot of countries in Southeast Asia, a lot of countries in Africa, they still view India as the leader of third world countries. Now, if India comes into this fold or this fold, along with India, at least 100 countries would come into this. That is why Soviet Union and US both pressurize India to join their camp after World War II. But India, led by Nehru, said that I am not going to join here and not going to join this side. I am going to adopt a neutral approach, that is called non-alignment movement. Now, maybe in your quality or IR, you learn more about non-alignment movement. Why India will come with non-alignment movement? Was it a good strategy for India or not? Okay, so this is something which you will learn in maybe in other subjects. But for time being, remember that now India neither joined US camp nor joined Soviet camp. But US and USSR both played a very important role in the freedom of India. Okay, now I hope you will understand why India got independence. Why India got independence. You cannot only give all the credit to Indian freedom fighters. There is something which is happening across the world which is going to play a major role. So unlike your NCRT, okay, which says like Gandhi came from South Africa, he marched India towards its independence. I hope you will not write the NCRT style answers. Okay, why India got independence? One reason is freedom struggle. Definitely, there is a very important role of freedom struggle. In addition to that, the superpowers US and USSR both supported freedom struggle. In addition to superpowers, the United Nations also played an important role. The United Nations, in fact, there is one organ of United Nations which played a very important role in self-determination movements. Can anyone tell me what is that principal organ of UN? Okay, can anyone tell me what are the organs of United Nations?
World Health Organization,
Oh,
Human
come
Rights
on.
Organization,
No.
Assembly,
Mhm.
Security Council.
Yeah, very good. So,
UNSC,
yeah. UNSC, one is Security Council. Okay. Then
General Assembly,
General Assembly, UNGA. Then
Mm,
see, whenever there is a institution, there should be a legislature, there should be executive, and there should be judiciary.
yes.
Okay. Now,
Mm.
this is the executive of United Nations. This is going to implement the policies. Now, what is the legislature? Is UNGA. United Nations General Assembly is going to be the legislature, and there should be some judiciary.
International Court of
Justice. Very
Justice.
good. ICJ is the International Court of Justice. Now, in addition to that,
Secretariat.
yeah, Secretary General, United Nations Secretary General, United Nations Secretariat. Then any other organ?
Economic and Social
Social Council,
Council.
ECOSOC, very good. Economic and
Trust Council.
yeah, Trusteeship Council. The sixth organ is Trusteeship Council. If you want, you can get all this information. You just Google it. Principal organs of United Nations. In addition to that, there are lot many other organs which are attached to ECOSOC, Economic and Social Council, like World Health Organization, World Bank, IMF. All these are organs attached to the ECOSOC. Okay, I hope you remember all these six organs of United Nations. Now, this trusteeship council has been established for self-determination movements. That is, to ensure that the newly independent colonies would not again fall under the major powers, the superpowers. Okay, that is the purpose of trusteeship council. Now, today there are no colonies in the world. That is why the trusteeship council completed its job in 1994. Okay, and maybe perhaps this is the only organ of United Nations which has completed its job perfectly. Because the very purpose of establishing Trusteeship Council is to end colonialism in the world. Now, when you're writing the organs, why India got independence? One, you can give credit to freedom struggle. Then you have to give credit to US and USSR. Then you have to give credit to United Nations, and further later you have to give credit to the political developments which are happening in Britain. Okay, even in Britain there is a less conservative party that is called Labour Party would come into force. Now this Labour Party is more sympathetic to the freedom struggle. Now again, who will elect the Labour Party in Britain? The British people. Okay, it is because the British attitude towards India would become more softened after World War II. Again, it is for their idealistic and realistic reasons within UK. Now again, when you're writing the exam, you should be very cautious that not only the freedom struggle played a role, but the turn of events across the world also played a role in the freedom of India. I hope you will be able to appreciate all this. Okay. Now, coming back to the August offer, in August 1940, the UK government was pressurized. Now, you are writing the point that the British government, pressurized by the Allied powers, is keen to get Indian support for the war. Okay, why is it like that? Why suddenly UK wanted to take India's help? Because it is facing reverses in the World War II. And that is why it wanted to make a proposal to Indians. That proposal is what we call it as August offer. Now, what is this in this proposal? What is there in this proposal? Okay, now this is where the questions are asked in your prelims. What is there in August offer? What did British offer? Did India accept or not? Now, in August offer, they said that there would be a body which is formed for making India's constitution. That is, for the first time, the Britishers acknowledged that Indians have a right to make a constitution with Indians also. This is something very important. What is there in August offer is Indians can make their constitution with help of a constitutional assembly where Indians also would be the members. Now, if you could recollect, there is a act which has been formed in 1909. Now, what is the name of this act? Could you recollect? 1909 Indian Councils Act. It is Morley-Minto reforms.
Minto-Morley Act.
Yeah, why it is called Morley-Minto? Because these two gentlemen played a role in making this act. And 1919, it's called as Government of India, also called
Montagu-Chelmsford reforms.
Yeah, Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. And 1935 Government of India Act is based on the recommendation of which committee? Simon Commission. Yeah. Simon Commission has been sent for the purpose of reviewing the constitution. Now, 1919 there were no Indians. 1909 there were no Indians. 1919 there were no Indians. 1935 there were no Indians. But the next constitution which is going to come, which would be having Indians also. Okay. Then August offer, this is the first proposal. That is, we are going to make a constitution where the Indians also would be present in this. The second proposal, we are going to give dominion status to India. Dominion status to India. Now, if you could recollect, from 1920s, we are asking for dominion status. But in 1940, August offer, they said that now British is going to give dominion status, and that too not then and there, but after World War II completion. World War II completion. When I say World War II completion, when it could be?
1945.
Anytime, maybe 1945 or 50.
Yeah, very good. See, because we do not know when the World War II would be ended. We know today because we are in 2020. But people in 1940 had no idea when the World War II would be completed. Whether World War II would be completed or the world would be ended, no one knows. Okay, because this was the time in 1940 that they suggested that after World War II, we are going to give dominion status. Now, this is a open-ended question. Now, whether the World War II would end or whether the world would end, whether India would get any time the freedom in the foreseeable future is a question. Now, this is a proposal given by British. Now, what Britain wants in return? India's support in war. Okay, India's full support in the war. Now, would Congress accept this one or not? What do you think?
They reject the offer.
Rejects the
reject.
offer. Yeah, as you said, like it will. Congress would definitely reject the offer. Now, what Congress wants in first one? It is not Indians also. It wants Indians only. Got it? Now, what Congress wants is, yeah, not Indians also. We want only the constitution made by Indians only. Let us make the constitution for ourselves. Then, what Congress wants? Dominion state, not dominion status. We want complete independence. Now, if you could recollect, India was asking dominion status in 1919, but it was not given. But in 1930s, Congress passed Purna Swaraj resolution, that is complete independence. When Congress was asking dominion status, we did not get dominion status. When Congress asked complete independence, now British is offering dominion status. Now you got some moral of the story. Okay. Now this is something which you should understand. What is the demand and what is being offered? Okay. Now the Congress wants not dominion status but a complete independence, nothing less than that. And it wanted dominion status in immediately. Now give us today dominion status, then you can give independence after the war and make the commitment that there would be a constitution made only by Indians, then Congress is going to acknowledge. Now if this story is clear, then you will be able to write the type of questions, whatever the type of questions. What are the reasons for August offer? Maybe you can write what are the terms for August offer? Why the August offer was not accepted by Congress. I hope you got all the points.
Can you what are the reasons of dominant status?
Yeah, dominion status means just like Canada or New Zealand, there would be dominion status. That means all other local governments, local officials would be by Indians and only maybe the top executive, someone like Governor General or someone like Army Chief would be by British. And rest all the people, all the officials would be Indians. The legislature, executive, judiciary would be Indians and only the top, maybe the top officials like Governor General or Army Chief would be the British persons. This is what we call it as dominion status, where we'd be having more you can say autonomy, but it is not independence. So this dominion status was there for Canada, it was there for Australia, it was there for New Zealand. Now on the lines of Australia or New Zealand and Canada, India was demanding the dominion status, but the British was not willing to give the dominion status. I hope you got it. Or any questions?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So in 1940, there was a Congress session at Wardha. Now, where is Wardha? Why is it famous? See, Wardha, we discussed. It is one more ashram of Gandhi, Wardha Ashram, Nagpur, near to Nagpur, Maharashtra. Now, in 1940 Wardha session, Congress would officially reject this offer. That means we are not going to accept this offer because what the Congress is demanding, what the Congress is fighting for all these days, it is not this one. It is what I written in blue color. Okay. So once the August offer was declined, now what Gandhi would say that I am going to launch a movement not by Congress but my own movement. That is what he called it as Satyagraha, but individual Satyagraha. Gandhi launches individual Satyagraha. That means he will say that do not cooperate with British, but not in the way we will go and protest because this was a wartime. We are going to protest individually. This is what individual Satyagraha is. Okay, now I hope you got the causes, results, and aftermath of August offer. Okay, so maybe in your notes I given in a more clear-cut manner the way you have to prepare for the exam. Now again, why the individual satyagraha would be launched? Because it was a direct result of August offer, because Congress was in a denial state to the August offer which was given by the British. So the first satyagraha was launched by Acharya Vinoba Bhave, who is going to play a very important role in the land reforms in the post-independent India. And the other satyagrahis include Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Jawaharlal Nehru. You can say those supporters of Congress, of Gandhi, who were there in Congress. All these would give their support to the Gandhian Satyagraha, the Gandhian campaign. But this individual Satyagraha did not take off the way it would take off in the case of 1930 civil disobedience movement or 1920 non-cooperation movement. That is why in history you will not learn much about this one, because this was not very successful. Okay, because the people were not in a mood to go with the Gandhian method. People were in a mood to complete independence just like the Subhash Chandra Bose method. I hope you understood the reason why the individual satyagraha did not succeed. Again, this also shows that just because Gandhi has started a movement does not mean it is going to be successful. Okay, the reason is the people are not in a mood in a more peaceful negotiation with British. The people are in a mood to a complete straightforward resistance until we get independence. This has become the goal, and the people also pressurized Congress to launch a mass movement, something on the lines of the earlier movement, so that they can participate and they can make the movement successful. Now this was the situation in the country before the launch of the Quit India movement. So once the August offer has failed, the British is going to come forward with another offer, another proposal, that is what we call it as Cripps proposal. Now the timeline should be very clear to you. Maybe in your prelims exam the chronology can be asked. Arrange these in the chronological order. The outbreak of World War II, 1939, then 1940 August offer, 1941 individual satyagraha, and once individual satyagraha is launched, the British still wants the Congress support. That is why it will come with another proposal that is called Cripps proposal. That is called Cripps proposal. Now again, what are the causes for Cripps proposal? Is, as I told, the failure of August offer, the response of Congress. The British needed much more support in World War II than like ever before, and there is a force or pressure on British by its own allies to bring the Indians into the wars. Because as you know that in World War I, the Indians played a very important role for the success of British. It is on the behalf of the British, it is the Indian soldiers who were facing the difficulties. Now on the similar lines, they wanted India's support for men, material and the political support. That is why the British is going to come forward with another proposal that is called Cripps proposal. And there were three members of Cripps proposal. They were called Stafford Cripps, Dr. Pethick Lawrence and Alexander. Maybe I'll keep it in the chat, all the names. Or let me put it here. Okay, so I hope this is visible. Okay, on the screen. So there were these members who came. One is Stafford Cripps, okay, who was a leader of House of Commons. Then Dr. Pethick Lawrence, who was the Secretary of State for India, and V. Alexander. Now these are the three members of the Cripps proposal who will come to India with some new proposal with which they will come to India. Now what is that new proposal the British is going to give to India? First one, we are going to give dominion status after independence. Again the same thing like the August offer, they will come with that, saying that we are going to give the dominion status after the war. Then we are going to decide upon the independence. That means we are going to give what kind of independence we are going to give. But in the meantime, there would be a new constitution which is going to come into force. Now, the Cripps proposal is not something new. It will come with the, you can say, a remodified version of the same August offer. It will say that we are going to give you the dominion status. But when the same thing like August offer after the war, dominion status after war, after war, then we are also going to give you the independence. Now, August offer did not talk anything on independence, but Cripps mission would talk on independence. But when, it is a question. That is, in the time, as the time decides, we are going to decide when we can give you the independence. And on the transfer of power, we are going to set up a constitutional assembly which is going to make the constitution with Indians. That is, only Indians are going to make this one, the Constituent Assembly, as demanded by Congress in August offer. That means some demands British would agree and put forward and come with a new proposal, that is Cripps mission. Now, there is no concrete plan for immediate transfer of power. That is, immediately we are not going to transfer the power, but only one head would be British. That is, the Governor General is still going to be a British citizen, and the remaining members can be Indians. As I told, something like dominion status we are going to set up, and that too not now but after the war. Now again, the Congress is in no mood to negotiate with British until we are getting the complete independence. Now Nehru says this is like a open-ended offer. That is, there is no clear-cut this one. That means after war, in sooner time. So this is something which is like a open-ended offer. Now Gandhi said this is like a post-dated check. Gandhi called Cripps mission as a post-dated check. In fact, Gandhi said jokingly, but UPSC asked seriously. Okay, who said that Cripps mission is a post-dated check? So it is Gandhi who said it is a post-dated check, and Nehru adds that this is a post-dated check on a crashing bank. On a crashing bank. Now, which is the crashing bank? UK is going to be a crashing bank. Now, in World War II, UK is facing lot of reverses. Now, UK is going to fail. Now, this is the time the UK is coming with lot of these proposals. Now, because of the Congress denial for the Cripps mission, there was no other option but for Congress to launch another mass movement, that is Quit India movement. Now you can see the old newspaper which talks about the way Gandhi meets Cripps, but later there is complete silence, and where is the freedom asked by Maulana Azad. Maulana Azad, Abul Kalam Azad, as I told that he is the youngest as well as the longest serving Congress presidents. So from 1940 to 1945, he will be the 1946, I think, he will be the president of Congress. So Maulana Abul Kalam Azad says that this is something which there is nowhere mentioned about freedom and when, where. So it is like an open post-dated check. You know, post-dated check, like there is no date on that. Okay. Any questions till now?
So since from 1940 to 1942, there is no activity of Congress as such.
Yeah. So
Can
it
we say
was,
that?
yeah. From 1939. So what happens is Subhash Chandra Bose would be elected as a leader of Congress, but later, due to his differences with Gandhi, he will resign from here. Now, all the top leaders in the Congress were one after the other put behind the bars by the British. Okay, so now this was a time when the new leadership would be taking over this one Congress. For example, you would have heard of JP movement, Jayaprakash Narayan. Okay, who is going to play a much important role in during the time of emergency during Indira Gandhi. The leaders like Jayaprakash Narayan, leaders like Acharya Vinoba Bhave, leaders like Aruna Asaf Ali, all these would come into picture. The new leaders, the new leadership, because the top leadership would be behind the bars. the Gandhi, Nehru, Patel, then Rajendra Prasad, all these top leaders were put behind the bars during the time of World War II.
After 1942, right?
Yeah, in 1942 they will be put behind the bars for 3 years, but even before that they will be on off. Sometimes in the war, sometimes in detention. They were not allowed to come out because, as I told, that this was a war time, and because it was a war time, the mood of the British was nowhere in negotiation, and the response of British would be very swift because, as I told, that the other movements earlier, like non-cooperation or civil disobedience, they were launched in peacetime. But because of the warlike situation, the only thing the Congress is doing is through individual satyagraha, nothing much more than that, in open day. Okay, I hope I answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the role played by Congress is very limited publicly, but it was resisting passively, like through individual satyagraha, through rejecting August offer, through rejecting Cripps mission. So this is where the Congress role is there, but not very publicly or actively. It was more passively, yeah, because the top leadership are not in the public domain, and also the new leadership. Again, the Congress itself is confused, as I told. There are different elements in Congress. One supporting the Subhash Chandra Bose faction, one supporting the Gandhian faction. Okay, so one group saying that okay, let us accept the Cripps proposal, let us accept the August offer, whatever the British is giving, let us accept that first. Okay, but some group is saying let us demand a complete freedom, let us take full advantage of the situation of the war. Okay, in getting or attaining our complete freedom. Many times the British offered something, did not give, just like World War One. The British offered that we are going to give something good in return, but what we got is 1919 Government of India Act. Okay, so this is the you can say different viewpoints which are emerging in Congress. So Congress, you can say, it is in confused state after 1939 to 1942 till 1942. Okay, now because of all the events which are unfolding, the Quit India movement, the another mass movement, would be launched by Congress in 1942 August. Okay, now we'll try to have a quick look of Quit India movement. What are the causes? What are the course of events? And what are the consequences of Quit India movement? So before that, before we start into the Quit India movement, any questions till now?
Sir, I have a doubt. Like, how popular is Bose compared to Gandhi at that point of time? Like in 1939, he won the presidentship, but
Yeah.
with how much majority? Like,
Yeah, so we will discuss about the Subhash Chandra Bose INA maybe tomorrow's class. Okay, or let us see if I can begin on that topic. Like we'll have a complete discussion on INA. Okay, so
okay, sir,
where
thank
we'll
you.
discuss, yeah, in detail about the INA, its contribution, what is the role of Subhash Chandra Bose, what if he had succeeded. All these questions we'll try to get some answers on that. Maybe tomorrow's class. Okay. Now
Okay,
we will discuss on the mainstream freedom struggle, that is on the Quit India movement. So Quit India movement, also called August Kranti movement. Okay, because it was launched in the August 1942. Now, what again, as I told, whenever you are trying to cover a movement, the three C's: what are the causes, what is the course of events, and what are the consequences. Now, you can write down what are the causes for Quit India movement. The causes for Quit India movement. You can divide the causes into three sections. Three sections. The first cause is World War II. The first cause is World War II. Maybe I suggest you draw a tabular column. Okay, I hope everyone is back. Again, quick confirmation. You are able to hear me, see me, and view the desktop, all three.
Everything is
Okay, thank you. So, when you're talking about the quick CRIPS mission, so as I told, like you can make a table or column, something like this. Let me clear the slide. Okay, you can write down the causes. In causes, I suggest make a table or column like this. First one is the events which are happening in India, within India, and which are happening abroad. Now both are very important. Okay, within India, with abroad. Now, can anyone quickly sum up what are the causes for Quit India movement within India?
failure of CRIPS mission.
Failure of CRIPS
Arresting
mission,
of
very
Congress.
good. Failure of August offer, you can
Arresting
write. Arrest of the top leaders in Congress. Then the people's mood is also like that. So as I told, like individual satyagraha was not successful. People also wanted a complete resistance. Okay, then take this movement as an opportunity. August offer failed, individual satyagraha failed, CRIPS mission failed. Okay, so all these are the reasons for the Indian side and the restlessness among the people, because we have supported the British in First World War. What we got in return, we have to make use of this situation. Then in abroad, what could be the reasons? It is majorly because of World War II. World War II. Now what happened during World War II? Okay, now you can write broadly. In World War II, there was a huge price rise, price rise of commodities and shortage of essential commodities. Huge price rise and shortage of essential commodities, because it is a war-like situation. War-like situation. Even though India is not actively participating in the war, because of the war-like situation which is there in India, the inflation was something like 500%. Now, I hope like inflation 4%, 5%, you know the heat. But when we say inflation is 500%, how much is 100 rupee good would be sold for? Can you quickly tell me?
600.
600, very good. Okay, so 600 rupees. A 100 rupees a commodity would now be sold for 600 rupees. There is an increase in 500% of inflation. Now, because of this, the common man suffered. In fact, it is not only the inflation and shortage of food which is leading to this, but it is also the soldiers. Indian soldiers were on the behalf of the British were taken abroad and they were getting injured, returning back their homes, or they are losing their lives. And because of all these things, the common people felt that why are we fighting for the British who is exploiting us over time? Okay, I hope the consciousness has reached to its peak. Now, this consciousness was not there in the Indians in before. As I told that the same thing happened in after 1857. There were a lot of wars the British has fought, but Indians were sacrificing their lives on the behalf of the British. No one questioned the British. In the same thing happened in World War One also, but no one said anything. But in by the time of World War II, as I told that the role played by freedom fighters and Indian National Congress, they have raised the consciousness. That means they made the people aware that we are being exploited. Now, this is one of the most important contributions of Congress and the freedom fighters. Now, how the common man suffered? It is either socially, politically, and economically because of World War II. On economic things, you can write about shortage of food grains, inflation on essential commodities. All these are economic reasons. Political reasons, the British is not offering. Okay, whatever the Indians are demanding, we are still being suppressed. and all the civil rights were detained. Whatever the rights here and there which were there, even those were taken away because of the war-like situation in the country. Then on the social sphere, the consciousness. That is why we should support the British. Now this kind of questioning started among the people. Now because of all this consciousness, the common people started protesting against the World War II. That means they are in a mood to support the Congress in a mass movement. Now, in addition to this, the most important threat for India, or this one, is from Japan. Okay, the most important concern for Indians is from Japan. Now, whenever we are talking about fear, a fear can be real or a fear can be imaginary fear. Okay, now whether the Japanese threat, is it a real fear or is it an imaginary fear? Can anyone tell me? It is a real fear, because the reason is Japan and India, they do not have any traditional rivalries. Now why Japan wants to attack India? Because
to make it
to make it independent.
Because it is a UK colony.
Yeah, because it is a UK colony. Very good. Because Japan and India did not have anything, neither friendship nor enmity. But why Japan wanted to attack India? Because India is the source for all the supplies to Britain. Why Britain is having the economic support or military support? It is because of India. Now, if you control India, then UK would be nothing. Now, the Japanese knows this very clearly. That is why the Japanese wanted to invade India. Now, this is a huge threat for India. Now, why they are invading India? Because Britain is ruling India. Got it? Now, what Indians said is, Britain, please go outside India, because of you, we might be under the radar of Japan. I hope you got it. Why Indians were resisting to UK much more? Because Japan otherwise might not invade India. Just because it is a colony of UK, we are feeling that you can say the threat, the Japanese threat. And in fact, the Japanese threat was not imaginary, it was real, because many colonies of British Empire were already occupied by Japan in Southeast Asia. For example, the countries like Malaysia, the countries like Singapore were already under the Japanese conquest. In fact, the Japanese troops are advancing in India from all the three sides. That is through water, through land. Okay, this is through land from Malaysia to Myanmar to northeastern India, through land, through ships and through air. Now on the three fronts, now India is being surrounded by the Japanese troops. Okay, this is the first concern of Japanese occupation. First is Japan would invade India because of it is against British. Second thing, Japanese troops are already surrounding India in multiple directions, through air, through land and through water. And in addition to that, now what Indians realized is, till that point of time, we were believing that the British is there to protect India from others. But when Japanese conquered the Andaman Nicobar Islands, so you know that there are Andaman Nicobar Islands which are like 1600 kilometers from Indian mainland, which is more close to Malaysia and Indonesia, then it is closer to India. Okay, if you see the geography, you'll see that the islands, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, which are very distant from the mainland India, they are very close to the countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, then they are closer to India. Okay, now the Japanese have captured the Andaman Nicobar Islands. Now when Japanese captured the Andaman Nicobar Islands, what happened is the Britishers just ran away for their lives. That is, the British said, only the British soldiers let us come back. Let the Indian soldiers, let the Japanese do whatever they want with Indian soldiers. This has angered the Indians the most. Now, on one side, the British is saying that the British subjects and Indian subjects both are same for the British Empire. But in reality, it was never like that. As I said, like in 1833 Charter Act itself. Okay, they said in 1853 also Indians can sit for civil services. We are not going to discriminate. But in practice, it was never like that. They always tried to discriminate between the Indians and the British subjects. That means when Indians are captured by Japanese, the British just ran away for their lives. Now this has angered the Indian National Congress much more. Even Gandhi was in a, you can say, very angered mood because of this incident. That means imagine if the Japan comes and invades India, then UK just runs away. Now what would happen to the India's fate? Now for 200 years we are fighting we are fighting against UK. Now we have to start a new freedom struggle against Japan. I hope this is clear. Why all this is happening? Because UK is controlling India. Now this is the reason the Quit India movement was launched with such a, you can say, the ferociousness. In fact, this kind of boldness was not there in the other movements. Now many scholars call this movement as the most un-Gandhian movement of all Gandhian movements. Okay, most un-Gandhian movement, because when in non-cooperation movement or civil disobedience movement, it was completely peaceful. When the movement is going out of control, when the movement like Chauri Chaura incident has taken place, Gandhi would call off that non-cooperation movement. But in Quit India movement, there are lot of sporadic incidents which are taking place, which would make the movement very violent. But Gandhi is in no mood to stop it. Okay, so that is why the scholars call this particular movement the most un-Gandhian of all Gandhian movement. I hope you understood it. Why Gandhi is in a very, you can say, militant mode. This question was also asked in UPSC exam. Why Gandhi was in militant mode in Quit India movement? Now, again, when we say militant mode, it is just a mood. Again, do not think that Gandhi has taken up the arms. Now, he was completely against British because he felt that British is, as I know that Gandhi was a staunch supporter of the British laws earlier. He was not rejecting the British laws. He was saying they are not implemented properly. Okay, he was rejecting their implementation. Now, by the time of Quit India movement, he was completely angered and triggered by British, and he gave the famous slogan, "Do or die." Okay, you know the slogan, "Do or die," which was given by Gandhi at the launch of Quit India movement. Now, the "do or die," the word "do or die" is in English. It is not very, you can say, a very bad word or very derogatory or very controversial word. But when you translate into Indian languages, it becomes more dangerous. Like the "do or die," when it is translated into Hindi, "karo ya maro." Okay, when it is translated to Hindi, it became more controversial, and the next day Gandhi was arrested for this one. In fact, not only the Gandhi, all top leaders in Congress were put behind the bars by the British. Within no time, the Congress, all the top leadership went behind the bars, and this was also the time the new leadership has started. Okay, as I told that whenever the old leadership goes, the new leadership would come into it. Gandhi gave the famous slogan on 8th of June, 8th of August, and on 9th of August, Gandhi was arrested. The next day morning, Gandhi was arrested, and all top leaders were arrested. Now, this would lead to huge protests, strikes, rallies across different parts of the country. Now, this is the causes and how the movement started. Any questions till here? So I hope you are able to understand.
At this point of
Yeah, please.
yes, this point of time, I mean, if Japan is ready to attack India, what is the status of China and other Southeast Asian nations?
See, Japan has already annexed many countries in the Southeast Asia. Now, if you see the map of here, now this is Japan. Okay, let us take this is Japan, this is China, and this is India. Now, Japanese forces, they have already annexed Korea, the Korean Peninsula. They have annexed the top region of China. This is called Manchuria. Not that one what we eat. Okay, there is a region that is called Manchuria in the northeastern part of China. This was already annexed by Japan. And in the Southeast Asia, the British colonies like the Singapore, like Malaysia, they were already annexed under the Japanese occupation. And in fact, the Myanmar also partly fall into the Japanese. In fact, the Japanese were making the advances further. Now, in tomorrow's class, in the INA movement, we'll see how the Japanese and INA would merge the Indian National Army, the Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay, we'll come back to this. So, but for timing, remember that the Japanese forces by 1942, they have made their advancements. In fact, they have freed up some islands in Andaman Nicobar with the help of Subhash Chandra Bose. Today, the Andaman Nicobar Islands, they are called Shahid Dweep, Swaraj Dweep. Okay, in fact, the Singapore already fallen to Japanese. Parts of Myanmar already fallen, and they are advancing through the land route. In fact, they are advancing through sea route and air route as well. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, okay. Now, any other questions on the causes? Okay. Now we'll go to what is the nature of movement. The nature of movement. Now Gandhi, though he was behind the bars, now Gandhi as well as all important leaders were behind the bars. Now, they gave instructions to various sections of public. For example, Gandhi has said to civil servants, all the public officials, do not resign from your job, but show your loyalty to Congress and Indians. That is, unlike the non-cooperation movement or civil disobedience, he did not ask to boycott, but he said that be in the government but support Indian National Congress. Now, this is going to be a further more threat to the British. That is, imagine a civil servant who is working for Indian National Congress but taking salary from British government. Now, it is something much more dangerous for the British government. Right? He said that all the government servants, the Gandhi said that all the government servants do not resign because after independence we need you, but you proclaim your loyalty to Indian National Congress. In fact, many officials already were helping the Indian National Congress and their leaders. Maybe due to different reasons, maybe idealist reasons, because they wanted India to be free, secular, independent, or due to their realist reasons, because they felt that what if suddenly tomorrow India gets independence and we have to work under these Congress ministers? Okay, we have to, maybe there could be, they might take revenge if we do not agree to their terms, because they also know that India sooner or later we are going to get independence. We have to work under the Congress. Okay, that is why the government's civil servants, some civil servants started proclaiming their loyalty openly to Congress. And Gandhi suggested to leaders and police, do not use force against your own countrymen. That means do not fire at your countrymen, do not arrest them, do not you can say use force on your countrymen. And many police and many army people also refused to shoot at the Indians when the British officials ordered. Now this is something like a huge threat for the British Empire. As I told that the civil services are like the steel frame for the British rule in India. Now this steel frame, whatever the British was making its foundation, was started eroding. That is, whatever the steel frame, the army, the police, the civil servants, when they said that we are not going to support the British, we all be loyal to the Indian National Congress, the British felt that heat, because this is the, with the help of these people only the British is able to govern. But when these people refused to take the orders, or when they were helping the Congress or its leaders, then the British came to know that our days in India are numbered, because sooner or later we have to go back to our country. Okay, and Gandhi also gave the instructions to peasants, do not pay your taxes to your jamindars or to British government if they are loyal to the British. If the jamindars are loyal to the British, do not pay your taxes. And peasants happily stopped paying their taxes. As I told that during the British Raj, the land revenue formed a major component of their revenue. When they did not have the you can say the rents which are taken from their loyal zamindars, then the treasury was grappling with, you can say, the struggles. Then he asked students to leave their studies and join the freedom struggle, and many students have joined happily. Okay, they left their you can say education and they joined the freedom struggle. And they also gave in the princely states, to the people who were there in the princely states, he said to support the freedom struggle and reject your princes or nawabs and rajas if they are loyal to the British. In fact, the people also have done that very actively. In fact, almost all sections of people, like soldiers, peasants, students, the people of the princely states, government servants, almost all the sections of society became more loyal to the Indian National Congress than to the British. Now, once this has turned up, the British started to understand that, as I told, the days in our country are numbered. Just like 10 years before, like 1930s, British, as I told, had made the plan to rule India for at least 100 years. But within 10 years, everything has changed. Now, by 1942, the British came to know that we have to leave India. Now, though Quit India movement did not give us independence then and there, but at the same time, what is the significance is because the British came to know that we have to leave India. The Quit India movement started in 1942, which lasted till the World War II, 1945. Now, during these 3 particular years, the British you can say at the best, they could be able to keep the country together. Okay, so but at the same time, though it was not successful in attaining independence, but this gave a clear-cut indication to the British that we cannot rule India any further. That means they sensed that they could be able to sense that we cannot be able to exploit India. We cannot be able to collect the taxes. We cannot be able to get the loyal groups. As I told that there are always some loyalists to the British rule. Within Congress itself, they were loyalists. Within princes, they were loyalists. Within zemindars, within police, within army, they were loyal people to British. Now, when this loyalty has been lost, then they had no other option and then no other intention to rule the country. In fact, in 1945, after the World War II, the Labour Party comes into picture in Britain, and the Labour Party is more sympathetic to the Indian cause of independence, and from 1945 they'll make the roadmap of transfer of power. Now the British decides that there is no other option but to give independence to Indians, because as I told, like even if you arrest the top leaders in Congress, the movement is not going to end. So the new leaders would come into picture. As I told, the Vinoba Bhave or Jay Prakash Narayan or Aruna Asaf Ali or Usha Mehta, or all these are the leaders who would come to the top. That means, as I told, this Congress has created a grassroots movement which has mobilized the people. It is irrespective of the leaders, it became an institutionalized approach. That means even if you arrest all the leaders in Congress, new leaders are going to join the Congress. The movement the Congress has started is not going to end. This is the most important significance of Quit India movement. And also during the Quit India movement, we can see that the violence was at the peak compared to all other instances. So as I told, like all leaders were arrested by British. You can see some newspaper clips which are here. And also in 1942, during the Quit India movement, there was one more incident which has taken place in Patna. So important incident which has taken place in Patna. Now if you can see here, it has become a symbol of the resistance. You can also see that a life-size statue of 7 young people who sacrificed their life trying to hoist a national flag in near the Patna Secretariat today. There is a monument which is constructed to commemorate this event. When a group of young people try to hoist the national flag, then try to unfurl the national flag, the police shot them and they have died. Now this incident triggered the Indians across all different political spectrums. So, and as I told, unlike the Chauri Chaura incident, when Gandhi sensed that the event is moving violent, he called off the movement. But in this time, during the Quit India movement, he was in no mood to call off the movement. Okay. Now, this is something on the Quit India movement. Now, when you are preparing, I suggest make a list of the important leaders of Quit India movement and what is their contribution. So this way, you will be able to write more and more in detail analysis of Quit India movement. Then once you are done with that, I suggest you to make a attempt to revise the non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, and Quit India movement, and make a flowchart, compare and contrast CDM, NCM, CDM, and QIM, all the three at one place. So, any questions till now? How you have to prepare, what you have to prepare? Okay. So this is something on Quit India movement. If this is clear, we'll go to the next topic. Maybe in your notes, I have given in detail about the causes, the course of events, and the consequences. So any questions again? Okay. So I hope this is clear on Quit India movement side. We'll go to the next one. Now, this is what we call it as the mainstream freedom struggle. As I told, like whenever you are preparing freedom struggle, try to prepare in different strands. Okay. Like there is a mainstream freedom struggle. Okay, just try to draw a diagram like this from 1885, the establishment of Congress, then 1905, Swadeshi movement, then 1916, Home Rule League, then 1920s, non-cooperation movement, then 1930s, civil disobedience, then 1942, Quit India movement. 1942, Quit India movement. Now, this is what we call it as the mainstream freedom struggle. The mainstream freedom struggle led by the Congress, or the top leaders in the Congress like Gandhi, Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, Patel. So this is the mainstream freedom struggle. In addition to that, make a list of all the freedom struggle in different strands. Like make a list of all the freedom struggles like the present moments. List of freedom struggle led by the tribals. Left wing. Okay, in the same way, make a list of the freedom struggle led by left wing. In left wing, try to divide in socialist, communist, and revolutionaries. Socialist, communist, and revolutionaries. I hope we covered in detail on what is socialism, what is their contribution, what is communist movements like M.N. Roy. In here, you can talk about the CSP. In revolutionaries, you can talk about Bhagat Singh, Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay. So, am I audible now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, make a list like this. So, in the same format, try to prepare like along the way with the mainstream freedom struggle. Also make a list of the present movements, the tribal movement, the left wing movement. Then once you are done, try to make a list of the right wing movement, the right wing contribution in freedom struggle, right wing and extreme right wing again. Right wing like the capitalist, and right wing such as the extreme right wing like Jinnah or Muslim left wing, Muslim right wing, and Hindu right wing. On Muslim right wing, you can talk about Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Okay, on Hindu right wing, you can talk about the V.D. Savarkar or Golwalkar. So all these, or Hindu Mahasabha, the role played by Hindu Mahasabha. In capitalist, you can talk about the role played by the Indian capitalists as I told, the Jamnalal Bajaj or the J.R.D. Tata and the Bombay Plan. You know, Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce. Heard of this? Federation of Indian Chambers and Commerce.
Yes, sir.
Industrial, yeah, FICCI.
Okay.
Now, this
Okay.
was established somewhere in 1927. Again, this is going to play a very important role in India's planning. Like today, I mean, after independence, we know something called 5-year plan. Okay, we know there are 5-year plans. There is Planning Commission and National Development Council. Now, this 5-year plan is a result of a very important plan in 1946 called Bombay Plan. There was a plan called Bombay Plan, 1946. The FICCI was established in 1927. Okay, you can go through what is the contribution of FICCI, what is the contribution of Indian traders, Indian capitalists, and in Bombay Plan 1946, this would chalk out the plan, what kind of the vision, what kind of economy India should be. Okay, it talked about land reforms, it talked about the workers' rights. In fact, this is the you can say the magnanimity of the right wing of those times, because though it is part of right wing, it was also talking about the labor reforms, it was talking about the land reforms. Now this all became an essence of the first 5-year plan. Okay, and in the second 5-year plan, which we call it as Mahalanobis model, in the second 5-year plan, which gave more importance to heavy industrialization. If you know that first 5-year plan gave focus on agriculture, the second 5-year plan gave impetus to the heavy industrialization. Now all these 5-year plans are a result of the Bombay Plan 1946. Okay, so as I told, like whenever the movements are taking place, these are going to make a roadmap for India in its coming decades. Now if you prepare in this way, you will not miss out the questions in your exam. Now I suggest like make a list like this, a complete list in your notes, either a soft copy or hard copy, the way you are comfortable with. Then in the same sheet, try to prepare what is the evolution of civil services, what is the evolution of press, what is the evolution of education in India. Now if you prepare from 1857 to 1947, like once you are done with this sheet, your preparation for modern Indian history is complete. Okay, now this is the way I can suggest you. Within one page, you are going to recollect all this in your examination, at least the major events. Now the major events are in your fingertips. Then the some events like August offer or quick Cripps mission, what is there. So these things would become like the peripheral activities. So this is like the core activity. Once this core activity is on your fingertips, then the other peripheral activities and the role played by other strands of freedom struggle can be able to remember very easily. So any questions till now? Okay, now
What will be tomorrow's class?
Yeah, tomorrow class we will be discussing on communalism, the rise of communalism, the partition again we will discuss. Now there are few other tasks which are pending from the British side before they actually go back. The most important thing is the partition. As I told that the British adopted the policy of divide and rule. Now they will adopt a policy of divide and quit. Okay, so this is we are going to discuss in Wavell Plan Shimla Conference. Then we do have Cabinet Mission Plan. Then the formation of the first Constituent Assembly and Indian Independence Act. In fact, we also will deal with another strand of freedom struggle, that is the INA and its contribution, the third phase of revolutionary movements. So this is what the plan I'm having for tomorrow's class. Do let me know if you have any other thoughts. So these are the ones which we are going to cover tomorrow, from here to here, from 42 till 50. Serial number 42. So do come prepared for tomorrow's class. I think before the meeting ends, let me know if you have any other questions till now. So yeah, please. Yeah, I made the
No questions, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice class.
Yeah, thank you. So in the annexures, I made like what are the constitutional development 1858 to 1947. Okay, just a quick update. If the meeting ends, we will not rejoin again. We will continue in tomorrow's class. Okay. So in Annexure 2, I made like the Governor Generals and Viceroy, different Governor Generals from 1858. What is their contributions? What are the events which have taken place during their lifetime? And Annexure 3, I made the important slogans given by our freedom fighters. So this might be helpful for your understanding, and whatever I told you, the summary, the Swadeshi non-cooperation civil disobedience, I suggest you to add the other strands in the same sheet. So one sheet for summary, you are going to cover all your freedom struggle within one sheet, at least the most important moments. Now, once you are done, try to revisit the notes again and again, update the notes. Okay, so this is the way you have to prepare for the modern Indian history. Do let me know if you have any questions, concerns, and even after the class, you can, if you have any doubts, you can send it to Srinivas, or I'll get that questions. Okay, I'll try to answer and send it back to you. So if we are good today, we'll conclude the meeting then. Okay, I'll take it as you are able to understand. We'll close that then. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good day.